cha-ching. And then a few minutes later, cha-ching, and cha-ching, and cha-ching. We set up a Facebook account and we opened up Ads Manager. And I remember we looked at it and it was like the freaking Starship Enterprise. It has to hit this customer win. The customer has got to win first. And then as a product of the customer adopting that, the planet wins.
Welcome to Add to Cart, Australia's leading e-commerce podcast that express delivers all you need to know in the fast-moving world of online retail. Every week, Nathan Bush from eSuite and an e-commerce industry expert will share the news, research and insights that you need to know to keep you at the top of your game. And of course, keep your customers adding to cart.
Hello and welcome to Add to Cart. My name is Nathan Bush, host of Add to Cart and director at e-commerce talent agency eSuite. Now, I love a good product recommendation from friends and family. When someone starts a sentence by saying, you have to try this product, I'm usually bought in already. Of course, I wouldn't expect this to come in the form of home cleaning products, but today's guest bucks the trend. He even convinced me. Adam Lindsay is the co-founder of direct-to-consumer cleaning product company Koh. That's K-O-H. You've probably seen their ads if you don't already have one of these in your home. Adam was confused by the dozens of chemical cleaners, not to mention all the hardware that goes in them. He was determined to simplify domestic cleaning and create a simple, safe, and effective alternative. Almost 5 years later, Koh is now used in 10% of Aussie households, and the company is on track to hit $50 million in revenue this financial year. In our chat, Adam shares his priorities when it came to developing an eco-certified product, why setting up every weekend at the markets for 6 months was time well spent, and how he managed to get this, a Doctor of Ionic Chemistry to help him for free. Must have been one hell of a sales pitch. And if you listen to this, Adam is one of the best salespeople going around. So thanks to our partners, Shopify Plus and Signet, here's our conversation with co-founder, Adam Lindsay. Adam, welcome to Add to Cart.
G'day, Nathan. Thanks for having me on the show.
Pleasure. You know, we have a first here. You're the first guest I've had that's baking bread at the same time as recording a podcast.
I just did that on purpose. I've never baked a loaf of bread in my life before. No, I'm kidding.
I've seen yes. This bread half baked. It's going to be a good loaf of bread.
It's going to be a very good loaf of bread. Spelt as well, would you have it? And yes, I'm excited to be eating some of that later on. I shall send you a slice. Let's see how we go.
It doesn't mix with the freshness that you're going for, but I appreciate the thought.
So I've got 8 minutes, Nathan. In 8 minutes, we're going to go and get the loaf of bread out of the thing. So we'll do that. But let's
go with
see how
you.
We go.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's talk e-commerce and baked bread. What a show this is turning into. All right. So you are the founder of Koh. For those who haven't come across Koh, can you give us an insight into who Koh are and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So Koh is a home cleaning brand. We sort of live and breathe in the e-commerce space. And if you like, we're born in the farmers markets of Sydney, which is where we sort of took our concept and idea from. And then we basically really sort of on a national level launched across social media, namely Facebook. And we're 5 years old. 5 years old this year.
Beautiful. So started in 2016. Tell us about the growth from farmers markets to where you are today. I've read some figures, but I'm going to leave you to tell the figures of where you are today.
Yeah, for sure. So look, we basically, I came up with a concept which, I'd seen in another country, which was, for this sort of universal cleaning solution that was being used in a commercial application in Japan. And long story, but I managed to get hold of a sample of this stuff. I was at home at this point. I was stay-at-home dad / home cleaning duties, cook, basically anything to justify my existence in life. My wife fortunately had a pretty good job and was kind of sustaining the whole family, which she wasn't happy about. But I was on my sort of third entrepreneurial idea. And so I was kind of very well versed with cleaning and cooking and all the rest of it, because that was part of my juices. And I got this cleaning product, this solution, started using it around the house and just got super addicted to it. And it's, I think as a parent of a young child at that point, I was starting to ask myself questions, around, hold on, that sort of common cleaning product that I'm using to clean the floors that my 2-year-old son is now licking. Is that actually, should I have some concerns about that? Give me that bottle. What's actually in it? And so all these, and I think it's a fairly well trodden path for parents of young children. You start to go, hold on, this kind of everything around you, is it going to hurt the child? It's kind of like that sort of natural parent thing. So I became obsessed with this product and basically took it to, I looked up and found a Doctor of Ionic Chemistry at the University of New South Wales, asked him if there was a version that we could make of this, that I could use safely around the home. And, we engaged with a project with the UNSW, but which time I only had about $5 left in my bank account. So thankfully they didn't require any payment up front. And during that process of sort of, this development process, I was fortunate enough to have my, now and still as co-founder, Justin, join me. He also got obsessed around it. I think we were the only two people that were obsessed by this product. Everyone else around us was kind of looking at us with the side eye, just, we've got this. Oh, they've got water-based cleaning products or whatever. And but I've heard recently that there was a saying that a startup is a concept or an idea that's held by the founders, but nobody else believes. And that's kind of it. And it's it can be a bit of a lonely place, really, where you've got everyone else going, that'll never work, what a load of rubbish. And that's part of the one of the early challenges, I think, as a startup, as a founder, is sort of working your way. Is your idea strong enough and is your belief strong enough that you can sort of push on through the naysayers and the non-believers, which we did, because we knew that we had this solution. It was just an amazing cleaning product. It's kind of just every day, just going around cleaning. Oh my God.
And just on that, how do you convince was it a Doctor of Ionic Chemistry? How do you convince a Doctor of Ionic Chemistry to give you time and attention?
He was English, I was English. I guess there might have been that connection. I did buy him a coffee, and what I discovered was academics don't get bought very many coffees by random strangers, and they've also got a really inquisitive mind. So the fact that I had this kind of what, to all intents and purposes, looked like water. I was going, can you analyze this for me? And could you show me something that we could make that's safe and, environmentally friendly? All these sort of things that I had.
You were speaking his love language there.
Oh, that's right. Because he was like, oh, academic. And you're right. He should have just told me to get lost, really, but he didn't. And he took up the challenge. And, I'm very grateful. He's actually a shareholder, in the business. So nice. It was sort of...
It worked out for him.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. And good on him. He deserved it. So that was it. So we sort of spent about 6 months doing the development, came up with our own formula, tested it everywhere. We got it certified to an environmental standard. And I know we were talking earlier about this. I felt that was really important because in my mind, we're going to take this out to the general public and tell them that it's not only an effective cleaner, but it's also eco-certified or it's eco-friendly. The old greenwash statement, eco-friendly. What on earth does eco-friendly even mean? And I sort of I do hate, because ambiguity in sort of statements around marketing and claims. Well, what does eco-friendly mean? So we knew that we had to be eco-certified, and I found this not-for-profit independent organisation called GECA, which is the Good Environmental Choice Australia. I would encourage your listeners and viewers to check them out, because they basically have standards for everything from paint to sofas. And so if you actually really do want to buy products that are, what they claim to be and that are good for the planet, good for people, then this is a kind of a standard that gets washed against.
Online retail is changing rapidly, and it might never slow down. So when retail changes, you change retail. Sell at the speed of change with Shopify Plus and grow with demand, on demand, using a platform that can handle up to 10,000 transactions per minute. For bigger business at startup speed, visit shopify.com.au/plus. That's shopify.com.au/plus, because the future belongs to the fast. And how did you settle on them? Like when you're working out, because sustainability is core to what you're doing and why you set this business up. Yeah. I guess there must have been that point at some point where you were like, how much certification do I get and where do I get certification to make sure people see this is legit?
Google.
Yes. I love those answers.
So I didn't have a clue, right? So I'd never tried to certify a product, but I knew what I wanted. I wanted an independent body that I could go to. It meets this standard. It just so happened, I found Gecko relatively quickly. It wasn't a hard search. I think, sort of 5 or 6 years ago, they were relatively unknown. I think they've become a bit more sort of widely known now. They have their badges on a lot more products. But, for a lot of companies, their products either won't meet it, so they don't bother with it, or, if they do, it still costs, it's a bit of a process. You have to get an auditor through and, all this stuff. So you've got to want it, and you've got to see the value in it. But for us, two dads from Bondi who've got no backgrounds in cleaning or eco anything, I just knew that, well, why should you believe me? That was my point. Why are you going to believe me?
Yeah.
And why should you? So I haven't earned any credibility from you. So, I'll go and get a certification. So there's no ambiguity.
Mate, and I loved your point around eco. What does eco even mean? It's everywhere at the moment.
It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
And that eco can be, we'll print some trees on the packaging and we'll go eco. Yeah.
As long as it's got a green label on it, we're sweet, right?
That's right. So, it was that. So convinced the doctor, we produced the solution. And I think the other part of, the success that we've seen with Koh was that I knew that if I just provided the solution, then, cleaning isn't just the solution. It's not so great that I'm just going to spray it there and I just walk away and it's cleaned everything magically. Cleaning is an action of wiping and, using a chemical. I've even got an acronym which I use, which is WATCH, which is, so cleaning is a combination of water, abrasion, time, chemical, and heat. So one or all of those things. So that's a little clever acronym for you. But
I like it.
Very good. So what it wanted to do was actually bundle some cloths, some really good performance cloths, the solution, and a refillable atomizer. And then I knew that our customers are going to be getting the same experience as we were getting at home when we were doing all this testing. And that was literally, why I wanted to do that. And I thought, the other thing was, I don't know if I sell the solution to a customer, they might have crappy cloths at home. They might have a crappy sprayer. So why should I impose it upon them? Look, here's the solution, but you got to go out and get yourself the cloths and all the rest. No, I'll do all that for you.
You don't want to sell a broken watch, right?
No, that's right. You don't want to sell a watch without a watch strap. So it's maybe some people do, but I just felt that was, again, sort of laid the foundation of part of our DNA is to make this process as easy as possible. People are busy. I was busy. I kind of, with kids and everything going around these days in a modern life. Why make me do it? As a customer, I say, no, I'll do this all for you. If I hope to get your buy-in on this, I'm going to make this as simple as possible and for you to get the best results possible. Because cleaning's a bit of a chore. And going down that aisle in the supermarket, find anybody that enjoys that. I don't think anybody does.
That's the aisle I avoid, normally because it's just right next to the ice cream aisle, so I just skip to the ice cream aisle.
You just... That's right. Hey, my bread's ready. I'm going to go now.
Let's go have a look at the bread. Well, while you're busy doing bread, I might tell my story because when my wife got onto Koh first and I hadn't seen too much, but this big box rocks up and I was like, what is this? And she pulls out what looked like a big thing of cask wine. And I was like, our standards are slipping here. And it's the cleaning solution in a big box. And then she pulls out the mop and I'm like, how does this work? And she shows that you put the detergent on the handle of the mop and then you squirt. So there's no need for a bucket or anything like that. And I can tell you what, our house gets cleaned, by me included, a lot more because it is so simple. Like obviously the environmentally friendly angle is really appealing to us, but it's the ease of how, that is good looking bread.
Hey, it's not bad, is it?
I don't know, like, gee whiz, you are making all of us males look bad. talking about cleaning, running the entrepreneur life, and cooking bread. I don't think I can come back from this.
I've got a lot of shortcomings. I've got to earn my keep. I've got to just keep up the good work. Anyway, so right. So and I think that's it. That's again, if you can make these things easier and just put your customer central to this, how are you going to engage with this? And is what we're going to do better than the incumbent? Not just in terms of the performance, but also just the experience and how much effort you have to put into it. And I kind of just thought from the outset, and actually, sort of 5 or 6 years ago when we were looking at cleaning products, and I started to look more and more closely at this. It's like, God, this is a neglected, stodgy, taken for granted segment that a few large brands are just like dining out on, have been for the last 70 years and doing nothing to earn those customers. Do you know what I mean? I know, like,
yep.
So when we got to the farmers markets, we took this minimal viable product that we had the cloths, the refillable atomizer, and we had this 3-liter pouch of that we were filling with the solution. And our hypothesis was, would customers go for a eco certified? And by God, we were really wanting to talk about eco certification at that point, because we'd spent $5,000 on the auditors, which was kind of all of our money,
yep.
getting this standard of certification. We really wanted to talk about that. And I remember the first few markets, and we'd have this sort of like demonstration table set out with all different surfaces, marble and stainless steel and glass, and all the common surfaces around the home. And we'd sort of cajole and sort of hook some unsuspecting passerby at the farmer's market, say, come on, look, we'd like to show you this, and start going on about the eco certification of our products and how that was so important. And invariably their sort of eyes would start to glaze over. What was the most important thing to us? It turns out that we spent $5,000 on was not the most important thing to our customers. And and what kept happening through this sort of pitch, the early days of our pitch, was they just interrupt us and go, look, that's great and all, but does it work? Okay, well, actually, as it happens, it does, and we'd have all these demonstrations, and we'd sort of go on. And I think and we were doing these farmers markets for, twice a weekend for 6 months. So we really got to sort of understand what the motivators were for our customers, and it was just the best learning process ever. And I think where we sort of really, I guess one of the big takeaways was that we've got to serve the customer's need first. And the whole point of this idea, and I'd sort of my previous failed entrepreneurial endeavors had been, do something that's great for the planet, do something that's great for people, just make a positive impact. And I wanted to do it on a big scale. Anyway, we went through these sort of, first failed efforts, and we got to the cleaning. And I just thought, well, we can really make a huge positive impact here, but we have to get, it's and I think often with eco products, and in the context of cleaning, should we say, if it's eco, well, you've got to scrub a little harder with this one, and you maybe even probably have to pay a little bit more, but
yep.
you're going to be saving the planet. And I'm kind of like, well, that probably fits about 1% of the population who are going to be prepared to scrub harder and pay more to achieve a result that maybe there or thereabouts. And I thought, no, this, if we're going to get a product that's really going to make a difference, it's got to be affordable for the 99% rather than the 1%. It's absolutely got to work. It's got to be equal to or better than the incumbents that we're trying to displace. And it's got to be easier, and it's got to be simpler and safer. I know those are the things, but it has to hit this customer win. The customer has got to win first. And then as a product of the customer adopting that, the planet wins. Yep. I just don't think you can do it the other way around, which is, look, everybody. And it's usually this sort of tone. You get the eco tone. It's like, look, everybody, we've come up with a product that we really think is going to save the planet. And we're asking you to pay a little bit more and scrub twice as hard will you do it for the planet? It's like, I'm busy.
Yeah, you can spray these chemicals in your oven and it'll clean your oven by itself for 30 seconds, or you can sit there and scrub it eco-friendly for 8 hours.
That's right. And it comes back to watch, right? When you just take the T out of watch, the time, I'll do that for the next year.
Question for you on that though. If you've got this vision, you've got it certified, you've got scientists on board, you've got a vision to make this accessible to everyone. And this is 2016, so it's not that long ago, right? So we're not talking internet dark ages. E-commerce is still a thing. You could go straight online rather than slog it out twice a week in the markets in person for 6 months. Yeah. Why did you go down that route rather than push everything online?
Well, you know what? We actually set up a Shopify instance, and this is myself and Justin, and we didn't really, we didn't have any online e-com chops at all. We'd sort of had our own businesses before, and my previous one I'd been importing and selling juicers and doing videos on YouTube, and had an e-commerce store, but I wasn't doing the marketing on it or anything. It was very primitive. And so, we knew that we wanted to do this online. So we set up this Shopify instance just around the same time as we started the farmers markets, which was early 2016. And we got it was a free template, usual sort of thing. Didn't have any money. So we had the free template. It was all free, and whatever was free, we set up this template on there. And what we would do is when we're doing the farmers markets, we'd sort of say to people, because we want to become an e-commerce business. And so we'd sort of get a customer on board at the farmers markets, and we'd see them, a few weeks later. We say, hey, don't forget, you can reorder online. We had give them the thing, and they'd be like, yeah, okay, but they weren't interested. They wanted to buy from the farmers markets. And we were always trying to get these people, didn't know how to do digital marketing. And then, we'd sort of cajole friends as well into, hey, look, if you do want to order some from us, like a whole load in the backyard. But if you do want, can you just go and order it online? Just, and they'd look at us, go, well, I can if you want. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, I do want actually. And so we'd have these sort of, we'd do like about 2 sales. I started off with like 1 or 2 sales a month, on this thing. And we go, oh, look, we're e-com business, and then as the market sort of progressed, it got a little bit, and occasionally we'd get an order, and then you'd always go and sort of face stalk them and see who actually it was. Oh, that's that chap from the farmers markets, isn't it? It wasn't like it was word of mouth. It had come from somewhere. And so by the time we got to the end of the farmers markets, we had 6 months of doing that, and we just got to the end. We thought we've learned everything we're going to get from this, and I am not a lifestyle farmers market career-minded person. We want to take this bigger than doing the farmers markets, and so we shot a video at the end. The very last farmers, it was our final fight. It was our farewell. It was our farewell farmers markets gig. We shot the pitch that we've been doing for those 6 months, and we set up a Facebook account. And we opened up Ads Manager, and I remember we looked at it, and it was like the freaking Starship Enterprise. And it was so complicated. I had that many, it was like, God, what do we do here? And we actually got some help from a friend of mine who had a successful e-com fake tan brand. Mm-hmm. And she was very generous and sort of gave us some pointers. And I think after about 2 or 3 weeks of us sort of, trying to create the right copy and, the audiences and all the rest of it, we woke up one I think it was on a Saturday, and I think most of you will be familiar with the cha-ching that you get on the app, on the Shopify
lovely
app.
Sound.
It's like a dopamine hit. It's the best. It really is. I'm sure anyone that's got this story, that cha-ching. And, I was used to hearing that, like I say, once or twice a week at that stage, and on a Saturday morning, we had this ad running. We had like $50 on it. I don't know what it was, but it was a pittance. And it was cha-ching. And then a few minutes later, cha-ching, and cha-ching, and cha-ching. and the whole day just kept on happening like that. And it was absolutely this kind of pennies from heaven moment that we'd got our concept, this idea of a simplified, easy, eco-certified and effective home cleaning system, and that message was going out to people in Perth and Brisbane and all the rest of it, and they were buying in on it. Oh God!
Do you think you would have had that immediate success online
if you hadn't just put it in front of people and had real conversations to nail the pitch and understand the audience first?
Great question. I'll tell you what we would have done. We would have gone off on how amazing is our eco certification. And I'm sure we would have spent whatever money we would have had left on telling everybody about our amazing eco certification. And don't get me wrong, I love Gecko, and I think it's a really important part of our brand, and we've had it ever since. I'm very proud of it that we've got that. But it's not the core thing, because what do you want it to do? I want to know if it bloody cleans. That's the majority. There will be, and good on them. But they're a relatively tiny proportion of people that will just go, I don't care if it's saving the planet. I'm going to pay a premium for it, and I bloody well am going to scrub harder. And those people are great, but they're not enough of a group of people to build a scaling business and make a significant positive change in the planet. That's my view, because I think you've just got to have a product that benefits the customer, first and foremost.
Signet helped put the fit into fitness for sustainable workout equipment brand Mobico. Mobico sell environmentally friendly cork yoga mats, massages and rollers, but they needed a way to package them up effectively and sustainably. That's when they discovered Signet's craft mailing boxes and shipping cartons. With no minimum order quantity, they're environmentally friendly and 10% cheaper than a comparable product. Mobico have never been in better shape to help service their customers. Signet have over 5,500 packaging solutions that help leading e-commerce retailers like Mobico step up their packaging game. Visit signet.net.au to find out more. That's signet.net.au.
Your product demonstrations, you still do the product demonstrations, or at least the ones that are online are from you personally, and they're legendary. Like, they remind me of, the old Channel 10 product demonstrations. You just nail it. And after watching them, you can't help but almost buy everything on site. What tips do you have for others who may have either complicated products or new concepts, and they're trying to get their product features and benefits across? As a sales technique, are there any kind of sales techniques that you've come across that really help nail that?
I remember one time, and this is when I was importing the juices, and I was sort of, this is kind of about 2008 or something like that. And I had one of these juices, and I shot a video for my best mate back in the UK. And I was like, well, I'll do your video, because I think I persuaded him to buy one. I was like, I'm going to do your video of all the benefits and why you need this and stuff. And so I shot the video, and again, it was on I think it was an early iPhone, but I shot the video, and I was talking to him, and my background is enterprise sales in IT and everything, and I hated it. I actually used to have panic attacks doing presentations to people in suits and all the rest of it, because I was just like, I'm not being myself. And that it was just a moment when I was like, right, I'm talking to my best mate. I'm talking to a friend, and that's just how I'm not polished or, professional, but I'm just like, this is how I want to talk to you as I talk to my best mate. Yeah. And that way it's kind of, I think at least it's just like, well, he's just being himself. And I think, when you're like, okay, now I'm going to show you this thing, and it's just like, it's not me, this is not me. And and everyone knows that sort of, I think that authenticity is a very important currency, especially online. That's what people want to buy in, and they're kind of a bit tired and worn out from, hey, I'm an actor and I am going to sell you this. We don't want that anymore, do we?
Do you script your videos, or do you just literally speak as to what's coming?
I can't. Again, I'm not professional enough to sort of read. Yeah, I think it's an order script. So unless there's some actual important detail that I have to get right, sometimes I have a board up, but the demos and stuff, I'll be there with Justin. And Justin still is doing the, my co-founder, he'll still do the, he's still holding the iPhone. We're doing this 5 years later. And I'm like, right, Justin, what we're going to cover off? We're going to cover off yeah, okay. And then we go in. And that's thankful for us. Like I said, and we were forced into doing that because we didn't have any bloody money. And if we had, I'm sure if somebody had given us $1 million at the farmers markets, I probably would have mistakenly gone, okay, right, now we better go and get ourselves a big production outfit because we've got all this, and we didn't, because we didn't have the money. So we had to do it cheaper.
Oh, we were only recently speaking with Bryony from Adorn Cosmetics.
Yes.
And, you know, she's been in the game for a long time. Very successful business, but she's still shooting videos on her iPhone from the founder because people want that authenticity and it moves product.
It's also the best way to communicate, isn't it? I think it's certainly in that B2C space. I'm still doing the threads on Facebook, and it's not because I don't want to pay somebody else to do it, but it's just like it's the best way. It's a two-way conversation as well, right? And and I think that's an interesting thing about the farmers markets. When we went there, it was the opportunity to listen and engage with customers. It was the opportunity to do the demonstration with customers, hear what they've got to say. And what we saw was that there was this validation that we would have other customers from the previous week would walk past and go, hey, while we were in mid-demo, go, hey, you know what? That stuff actually bloody works. And we'd go, yeah, it does, doesn't it? It was great. So we had this validation. All of those things, engagement, demonstration, and social validation from the farmers markets, we were able, thank God it's timing, it's not because we were clever, but we were able to transpose that onto Facebook and do all of those things that we knew were working so well in the farmers markets. And that was a pretty amazing thing. So if we'd been 10 years earlier, what would I have done? I would have had to go to a category buyer at one of the big supermarkets. They would just look to me, just go, get lost.
I can't see you doing that. For some reason, I just can't pitch you there. Wouldn't have happened. So and I think that's the other thing. So, I think we were very fortunate that we had those platforms, and the technology available to us at that point. And we it was a good call, though at the time I think, we said, we've got to do the farmers market. Let's just bloody sell something. We can't figure out this e-com thing at the moment because neither of us knew. Let's just go down to farmers markets and start selling products and hear and see what people have to say. Best thing ever we could have done. That's brilliant. And now 5 years on from that moment where you turned on your first $50 worth of Facebook ads and you hear the cha-ching, 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 how has social advertising changed for you since then? Are you finding it harder, easier?
I think it's become more expensive, but look, I'm ultimately I'm a products guy, I think, really, and I love finding products, and I've been doing it all my life. Is finding something, doesn't necessarily have to be mine, but finding something and then just telling other people, friends and family, why this thing that I just found is so cool and is going to change your life, and you've got to have one. That's just kind of me in a nutshell, really. It just happens I've taken that enthusiasm for sharing good stuff, tips, and concepts, and I've been able to sort of morph that into my own business. So I think, to answer your point, there's heaps of opportunities. Facebook's got a bit more competitive, obviously, over the years. So it's not I think when we started out, I could be correct on this, but I think we were doing things like paying $1.50 and $2 to acquire a customer. I think back to that. Oh my God! And we didn't realize how good we had it. Do you know what I mean? Compare us today.
Can we get it under $1?
Oh, we're paying $2 for these. That's quite a lot. They must be doing all right. Facebook, But the thing is, it was working because we had a great product. So there's a bit of that. I think you were sort of talking about, what would you like to see changing in e-com? I'd love to stop seeing all these marketing people trying to convince founders and startups that they've got the secret sauce to this. No, you don't. You've got to have a good product first. And if you've got a great product and you're approaching your customers and you're solving a problem for them, good marketing obviously helps, and having a handle on all of that. I know there's no doubt about that. But, you're not going to get anywhere with great marketing and a shit product.
Yeah, I think the era of it feels like we had that whole era of D2C brands that you could bring something in, whack a pretty brand on top of it, take a few nice product photos, and then flog the hell out of it using Facebook and Instagram ads. That ROI stage is over.
That's right, and that's where the social validation is becomes a really important, powerful thing for your brand. Is what are people saying about it?
So speaking of that, you've got 65,000 reviews for Koh, all with and the average rating's 4.7 out of 5. Is that right?
Yeah.
How do you get that many reviews?
Do you know what? I got to say, I actually answered one yesterday. it's lies. Everyone on this thread's just saying good things. There's no way that people say, honestly, I've had that so many times over the last 5 years.
Wow.
So I kind of take a little bit personally. Well, I'm not a fraud. Do you know what I mean? And look, let's say it's not a product for everyone. And part of the, if I could just have this as a little moment to share with you, part of the problem that we have, I think, is that we're incredibly lucky. We have loads of people going, oh my God, it's a cleaning product. You know? Oh my God, this stuff is amazing. It's like I say, I'm kind of thankful every day that we're so lucky to get that. Then I think what happens is some other people read and see that, and their expectation of the product starts to get elevated. And I'm not saying it; it's other people are saying it. Do you know what I mean? And it's great. And then they'll get it delivered with this expectation that's so through the roof. It's never going to live up to whatever, they think it's just going to spray it and back to that thing. It's going to spray it and walk away. And it's, it's like, well, no cleaning products there. And then they'll come back and go, it's not as good as they say, So it does come with a mini millstone, but I'll deal with that for sure. How do we get it? Look, we don't even offer any incentives. So I sort of buy quite a few things online myself, and I get, I think it's quite smart. You get hey, take a photo, and and we'll give you $20 off. We've never participated in anything like that. It's just we'd send an email out after, I think, a couple of weeks after they've had it, and would you like to review it? And people do, and
fantastic.
And I think it's just another bit of a weird thing is that with Koh, they weren't looking for it. This is the strange thing. I don't think there's anybody out there that has been saying to himself, geez, God, I wish somebody would come up with a all-in-one, fragrance-free, fume-free, effective cleaning solution that's bundled in with some cloth so I don't have to think about any of that, and then it's just delivered to my doorstep. Nobody's thinking that. So, consequently, sort of we don't go so great on Google because nobody's Googling all-in-one, but once they've received it and they've delivered it, and for the most part, they use it, and then it's like this penny drops. Go, how awful was the old way? Because the old way, I had to go down the supermarket. I had to curate my own cleaning system. I was asked to do that by the brands. They didn't help me. They're just trying to flog me a never-ending, dizzying, confusing myriad of different products. I'm there as the consumer. I've got to go, is that one going to poison my children? Is that one going to work? Is that one going to work with that one? Oh, I need a tap chrome cleaner, do I? Okay. And I need a glass cleaner. I need another. But and then I'm on the other side of the aisle. Oh, I've got to buy some cloths, and I need a mop, and you get all that together. And we found this out at the markets. We'd say, how does it feel when you open up that cleaning cupboard underneath the sink? Just tell me how you feel right now. And they'd invariably go, like that. And because that was a system that's been hardwired into everybody for 70 years. You curate your own cleaning system. You do it, making the customer do it. And I was just like, well, it's a great opportunity here. But no, we'll do that for you. And you know what as well? Here's the really revolutionary sort of outlandish, crazy thing that we do. We try and do it with as little as possible. So, we're talking about sustainable and environmental. I think, again, a lot of brands are still like, well, we're environmental, but still trying to sell you as much stuff as we can if we get the opportunity. And we've, have a look how many SKUs we've got. We've got about 8 or 9, I think maybe 9 SKUs. Of course, it would be, we've been asked by investors, how come you don't sell more different cloths? Why don't you sell them? I say, well, I don't want to become a marketplace. What value are we adding then? That's Amazon. You think I'm going to compete against Amazon, who have gone, well, you've got 50,000 different cleaning products, go and figure it out yourself. I was like, no. Customers know when they come to us, we've got their trust that we are absolutely focused on giving them or selling them as little as possible to do as much as possible in the cleaning around the home. I think that's one of our standout differentiators, because we'll keep doing that. And I think that's a pretty significant sustainability focus, is we're going to try and sell as little as possible. And it's kind of contrary for a brand to go, we're going to sell our customers as little as possible.
I think we're going to have to stop this podcast because you've actually broken the rules of e-commerce by saying that you're selling as little as possible.
I didn't say to as many people as possible. Now that I do have that, But on an individual basis, once I've got you, I'm going to help you do as much as possible with as little as possible.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And I think it's great that you've stuck to that, no matter how big and successful you've gotten. It would have been tempting at some point, so I could imagine, to go wider and go for more. But to that point of validation, I've seen that personally, because obviously you've got the one solution that cleans all different types of surfaces, which is fantastic, but it's the mop that always gets people talking. And it feels like, you show people the mop and there's one button, one thing, there's no bucket of water spilling everywhere. And people are amazed, and they're kind of like, there's this pride, I feel, that people go, look what I discovered. I discovered this.
We've had, I swear to you, we've had a good number of these anecdotes coming from our customers where they go, well, you know what, we had a dinner party over the weekend, and I couldn't help myself but to get the mop out and start doing a demonstration. Look, we're not MLM. They're not getting anything out of this, but it's just that sheer enthusiasm. Probably people with my similar character traits. You go, oh, I discovered, you've got to have a look at this, And you know why that's, I think also why that mop's such a thing, because it's the worst job in the world. That mop and bucket, you've got that big heavy, again, hands up, who likes doing mopping? Right, everybody, this is how it goes. Right, everybody, you've got to clean out of the house. The floors have become so disgusting now that I am forced to get the mop and bucket out. And you get this disgusting bucket out and you fill it up with water, and instantly goes all grey and disgusting because the mop tentacles are mouldy and filthy. And then what you do is you put some chemical detergent in there, and then you've lifted everything off the floors around the house, got everybody out the house for the next 4 hours because you're about to turn it into a swimming pool. And then you basically get that filthy grey water and you just spread it all around the whole of the floor in the deluded thought that you're actually cleaning the floors. And then it dries and then it sort of ruins all your floors because you put so much water on. And then you're like, oh, I'm not doing that again for the next few weeks. That was awful.
And your dinner party guests are still sitting there.
That's exactly it. That is exactly it.
Amazing. We could keep talking, but I know that you've got bread to go and eat and enjoy. I've got one last question actually for you. Do you still do the cleaning at home?
I absolutely do. Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
You're not sick of it by the end of the day. You think,
Well, look, we get some help. We do get some help in, but from like general. Look, I think you can have some help, which is the sort of like the deep, bigger clean. But you're still cleaning, cooking. Of course, you're not going to. I've got a cleaner, so I'm not going to wipe down those food stuff. So I've just done after making my loaf of bread. You still got to clean. We share it, because I know you were asking that question. My wife's the laundry. I'm not allowed near the laundry. Literally not allowed near it, and I'm okay with that. And I'm sort of surface cleaning and cooking really, and it goes okay mostly.
Good stuff. Now, Adam, what is next? What's got you excited next for yourself and for Koh?
Okay, so I think we've got to where we are on. Let's say on one category, so surface cleaning, really predominantly across one channel, which is Facebook, and in the main, in one geography, which is Australia. And I think, if we're going to fulfill our mission, what I'd like to be is I think there are three primary pillars as I see to home cleaning. There is laundry, there is surface, and there is dish. And also talking about selling you as little as possible. Obviously, what I'm currently selling our customers at the moment, which is surface, isn't going to help them with their laundry. So that's where we are going to expand to, and taking those same attributes, which is super effective, eco-certified, safe, convenient, easy. Those are the sort of like the North Star of when we're doing product development. And we're sort of very close to doing that. It's super. I get goosebumps. You can't fake
look
goosebumps.
At them. We've got real goosebumps on the screen.
You cannot fake goosebumps. And whenever I sort of talk about, big goosebumps. So, I'm really looking forward to that. It's, and again, it's something that our customers, this is part of the thing, when you're on the threads talking to customers, you get the, when are you going to, you ever thought about, and the products, I'd say the mop, the grout brush, which is another really popular product of ours. they're all products that we brought out because our customers were asking for them.
Yeah.
So when I'm doing those threads, I sort of, from the investors when we spoke, are you still doing the threads? I'm like, who else would you want to be doing it? It's kind of like, it's the privilege to be speaking to our customers. And they give me all the pointers. So good. Of course.
Brilliant.
Got to be doing that.
Adam, thank you so much for sharing your story. No doubt you have inspired so many people, not only in business, but in cleaning. What's the best way? If people have heard this and gone, geez, I've got to go check out that Koh stuff. What's the best way to do that?
Koh.com.
KOH.com.
That's exactly right. Yeah, Koh.com. And, give it a whirl. We managed to do a little pitch. We do offer a 30-day, no quibble money back guarantee. So give it a go. And if you like it, then it's a win. And if it's not for you, then we'll give you a full refund and we'll shake your hand and thank you for giving us a go.
There you go. Beautiful. Adam, go enjoy that bread. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much, Nathan. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
And just for the record, Adam never did send me that piece of bread. Might be for the best. All right, plenty of energy and great stories in there. Here are the 3 lessons that I took away that could apply to any e-commerce business. Number 1, the power of being in front of your customers. Adam always intended for Koh to be an online brand, but he spent the first 6 months at farmers markets getting real feedback. And it's a good thing he did it because it completely changed their customer proposition. Really great lesson there in getting your product in front of real people real quick. Online testing will usually tell you the result, not the why behind it. Number 2, tap into expertise. One of the biggest hurdles Adam got over was solved by a Doctor of Ionic Chemistry. He was genuinely interested in sharing his experience and liked coffee. It was that simple. Don't hesitate to reach out to people if you think they can help you cross a barrier that you can't get through yourself. No matter how far-fetched you think it is, there's so many people who just want to use their expertise to help. Number 3, green is not enough. I know we'd all like to think it is, but it's not. Despite all the green credentials and the best intentions, the majority of customers will not use something if it is harder to use or it is of an inferior quality. Green is important, but it's not enough.
To finish up, I have 3 resources for you. Firstly, if you're a first-time listener of Add to Cart and you want to stay up to date with new episodes, head over to addtocart.com.au and you can sign up for our weekly newsletter. We'll let you know every time a new episode drops, as well as giving you my 3 takeaways from each episode and a link to the transcripts so you can know that this is an episode that you want to dive straight into. Secondly, if you want a weekly roundup of the best e-commerce case studies, tools, and research, sign up to the High Five Friday newsletter, which is delivered to inboxes at 8 a.m. every Friday morning. I read all the e-commerce news and send you the bits that I think you can take action from. Sign up at 12high.com.au/high5. And the last thing, if you are looking to explore your next e-commerce opportunity, head over to esuitetalent.com.au. We are a dedicated e-commerce talent agency connecting the best e-commerce talent with the fastest growing brands. Check it out, sign up to the email, and get in touch with me if you want to discuss your next move. Until next time, thanks for listening and keep those customers adding to cart.